This is Pivot Perspectives with Chris O'Byrne, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on their road to success, and get exclusive access on how to implement their success into your life and business. Pivot Perspectives is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Chris O'Byrne.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash, and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Tom Rogers, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it, Chris.
There is a lot that I don't know about you, and I know a lot of people are going to want to learn about you. So even though we're going to focus on what you're working on now, which is vetted, I'd like to start back a little bit early of how did you even get into business in the first place? Kind of what guided you up to this point?
Yeah, sure. I think, honestly, I don't have a background in business or anything like that. I don't have a college degree. I was essentially homeschooled, raised in a really small town. I was born in Alaska, and then, ran a small fishing town, and then raised, in Washington State, which is still in the middle of the woods. So, my parents, they had like car lots. I used to wash and detail cars, at their car lots. I started at 9 years old, working for $3.25 an hour, detailing cars. And I just kind of had like a, fairly, not really normal, raising, I guess, because we had, my family had some splits.
No, I got some of the beginning stuff. So let's start up with you said your childhood wasn't necessarily typical.
Yeah. So my childhood essentially was, kind of challenging in regards to my family being split up. My dad wasn't in my life very much. I was kind of in this like home where, you know, there was, abuse going on. There was difficulty as far as financial difficulties, and I grew up in a trailer park. So I mean that kind of lifestyle is conducive for a lot of bad things that can happen to your life, and that was just my standard raising. I wasn't exposed to anyone that was really truly wealthy or happy or and in any of those regards. The only thing you could do in my area was work at a shipyard, a naval shipyard, or just like at a local like place. So my first job, other than detailing cars in my parents' car lots that all failed, my first job at 15 was at a Jiffy Lube working on cars. I wanted to be a mechanic. I did go to community college at 16, so I got into college pretty young at Running Start up in Washington, and then after a year and a half, I dropped out. I was doing mechanical engineering. I dropped out because I realized I didn't want to wash a car, or I didn't want to work on cars the rest of my life. And someone told me that, like, Donald Trump, he was in sales and he was the richest guy. And, so like, I was like, okay, I'll go into sales. So I went to sales, and I was in sales, selling Penguin windows door to door. Eventually, like cell phones and technology a lot more. So I started selling I sold the first iPhone. I sold, the first Galaxy, things like that. So I was in sales for a long time. And being in Washington State, where it rains, 8 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year or more. Sometimes one year was only like 2 weeks of, 2 weeks of sun. So, it gets really depressing. They have a lot of coffee. There's a reason why Starbucks was created in Washington, right? You really need that coffee to get going. So No, I was really kind of not in a good state, wasn't going anywhere, I was on unemployment, and I had this, idea dream of California. And so, I went down for 2 weeks with my brother and came directly to San Diego and fell in love with it. And then from there, I kind of planned this dream of, moving down here. My idea was to buy a crotch rocket, like a motorcycle, hit the coast, ride it down on the coast, and then, and then kind of settle here. So that's what I did. I bought a motorcycle and I hit the coast in Washington, and I rode it for about 30 hours straight, all the way down to San Diego. That was a wild. That was a wild trip. More happened more happened in those 2 weeks than the 2 months previously, but once I got here, it was a lot of it was I was sleeping on a couch, living out of a closet like Harry Potter status, paying $400 a month for a couch. And then I was on unemployment, eventually got a job at another cell phone store, and that would kind of did the same route. It got worse because you're just making less, you're in a more of an expensive city, and so it didn't really work out. So I came down with my brother, uh, and I have a black brother, and so I came down with my black brother. So my family's kind of all over the place, but he's really great, and but he kind of was having a hard time staying here as well, and wanted to get married, so he went back to Washington and he left, and I was here by myself. And at the time I was promoting for clubs, in San Diego, so I was introduced to this whole kind of like promoting club lifestyle. I never even knew EDM or dance music, or I never knew clubs or anything like that, being from such a small town. So it was all new for me. And so as I was promoting for clubs, I was starting to interact with a lot of different people, like different entrepreneurs and different like high level investors and philanthropists and things. So during that process, I was kind of exposed to entrepreneurship, and then the same time, I was following Ty Lopez. If you're familiar with Ty Lopez, he was big into reading books and, taught entrepreneurship and stuff. So I started reading books and a lot more. I stopped reading books for a long time. Most people, they get out of college or they get out of school, they don't ever read a book again. And I think that's like kind of one of the biggest issues with America is that kind of addiction to technology and TV and things like that. And people have lost that love for books. But I started reading a lot more books, and then, and I was exposed to entrepreneurship and all these different people that I was integrating with. And so while I was working at a cell phone store, selling cell phones, working 7 days a week, making $2,000 a month. I went from that to being exposed to all these different things. And, so I had this idea, it was a brilliant idea, right? To start a pool servicing company. It's called Tommy and the Pool Boys, and it's going to be like pool service. This is the concept. It's going to be pool servicing or pool boying on the weekends, really. So professional pool servicing during the weekdays, Monday through Friday. But I was running party buses to clubs. So on the weekends, we were going to identify different pools that were really, really nice and fancy and mansions and stuff. And they were going to run pool parties. We get authorization from the owner to run a pool party at their house. And then, we throw a pool party on the weekend, and then I'd also be servicing. This guy, walked into this cell phone store, and he was this pool guy, and he was making $400 an hour doing it. He seemed pretty happy. And this, at the time I read this quote from Steve Jobs, I'm sure you're familiar with, where he talks about, do what you love and money will follow, right? That you've probably heard that. So I was like, okay, well, I love pools. I love being outside. I love the sun. And I love girls that are like bathing in pools. So like, I mean, this is like, hey, $400 an hour sounds great. So like, let's do that. But a little recap. I had no idea how to clean a pool or work on a pool or anything like that. They don't have pools in Washington and Alaska. It's freezing, so like no one goes to pools. So like I had no knowledge base at all. So I would literally got a pool Bible from this like book, and it was like the Bible of pools, and this is like it's huge book about teaching everything about pools. And I was reading that, trying to have and this whole concept, and so as I was working at this cell phone store, slaving away there, I had this idea. I started to develop a logo or whatever. So I had this one of these guys at that cell phone store. He was like, "Hey, everyone would make fun of me at the store. They'd call me names, and they'd be like, 'Oh, you're just like this and that,' just like being dicks." And so one of the guys was like, "Hey, why don't you just go out and make a business plan? You talk about this thing. It sounds ridiculous, but just go make a business plan." So I go home, I write this business plan on a scratch piece of paper. It looks like a 5-year-old did it. I have it hung up on my wall in my yacht. But you know, so it looks like a 5-year-old did that. I put it in my back pocket, and I go to work that day. And as I go to work, the regional manager was there. He pulled me in the back room and said, "Hey, Tom, you sold a cell phone that you shouldn't have sold. You broke a policy, and so therefore, you're fired." So I was like, "Oh, great." Like literally the same day that I wrote this business plan, put it in my back pocket, was the same day I got fired. And so I walked out of the store. I had one single tear drip out of my eye, because I was literally sleeping on the couch and not have any money, And I was like, "Man, what are you gonna do, Tom? You gonna, go get another self sales job or work another cell phone?" I worked at like 4 or 5 different cell phone stores, and I was like, "What are you gonna do? You're gonna do that, or like follow your dreams, And so I was like, "Screw it, let's do it." Um, so I just kind of try to figure out how to service pools, and I was reading books, and then everything kind of went to shit because I was making no money. So they eventually, that I couldn't pay rent. I couldn't pay $400 a month, so they took all my roommates took all my crap, put it in trash bags, and threw it outside. And, I went to my buddy's house with a studio, and I had 6 dudes, in the studio sleeping on the couch. Then that couch got given to another guy. I had to go find another couch on Craigslist. We went down the alleyways in PB and Pacific Beach looking for a couch for me to sleep on, which are pretty disgusting. And then luckily I didn't sleep on one of those. We did find one on Craigslist though. That was nice in La Jolla, which is a bougie area. So, it was a nice couch that we found on the side of the street. We brought it back, and that was my bed. And then I went. It was to the point where I was doing little side gigs on Craigslist, trying to make any money, possible, because I refused to have a job. And I created a logo and some other things, and I was making a little bit of progress, but really no money. And so it was about 2 weeks away from being legitimately on the street, on the street. And I was almost over 15 times during my journey, but never really officially on the street, only about one night. But uh, so I was there, and I was at this kind of like this very end of this whole period at the studio, and I reached out and I couldn't even pay for my cell phone bill, and I had a 50% off cell phone bill. Like I had a really cheap cell phone bill, couldn't even pay for it. And so all I had was a backpack and a laptop, and I sold my laptop, or I pawned it. I pawned my laptop for a couple $100. I got a Metro PCS, like basic flip phone, or a basic like Android phone, and I reached out to the one rich guy that I knew, and I said, "Hey, I've started this business. I'm looking for an investor. Da, da, da. Want to have lunch or something?" So I had $20 to my name. I went out and had lunch with him, and I pitched him this whole concept of pool boy cleaning and everything like that. And I had a couple other ideas. And he was like, "Okay, Tom." He's like, Have you ever heard of waterless car washing?" And I was like, "No, like what's waterless car washing?" And um, so he says, "Come look at my car," And so he has like a brand new Mercedes black, and it looks really great. And he said you only use like a cup of water to wash an entire car. So I was like, "There's no way that's true." Well, turns out this is actually pretty popular in Dubai, and he was from Dubai area. And in Dubai, you have a lot of really nice cars, and you have no water, right? So the waterless car washing is a really big thing over there. And this was during the drought in 2014 in San Diego. So, he had this concept, he had the logo, he had this everything kind of already developed, but he couldn't sell because he had like this, Middle Eastern accent. And so then, create a business plan. He's like, "Why don't you write a business plan and we'll talk more." So then I took him out to the clubs. Then he had a penthouse in downtown San Diego, and so I took him to the clubs, brought a bunch of girls back for 3 days. We were just like having fun, and I was trying to convince him about the pool boy concept, and he was trying to convince me about this whole car wash thing. And at the end of the day, he was like, "What do you want to do?" And I was pretty much homeless, so and he said I could stay in his extra room at his penthouse in his $5,000 Tempur-Pedic bed, and that sounded way better than the couch that I found on the side of the street, obviously. So I was like, "Great, sounds like a plan." So he gave me $1,000 a month, and he helped me. He was going to help me kind of grow the business for a month, and if I was successful, then we could talk later about it. And he was leaving the country, so he literally gave me this business, just a logo, a website, some shirts, a vacuum. I had a laundry basket. He gave me a bicycle, And that was my mobile car wash. Was a bicycle, a powered vacuum, some squirt bottles, and and that's where I started at. I had some brochures, and so I looked professional, but and technically I was staying at a penthouse, but that was only for a short amount of time. So about 2 3 weeks later, 2 3 weeks go by, and I am literally headhunting all the towers in downtown San Diego for the garages and the garages, to do the car washing there. And that was one of our ideas for expanding the business. And I secured a high-rise building in downtown, one of the best with Irvine Company. Irvine Company is one of the largest property management companies in San Diego. That was my first building I secured. So we launched that before he left the country, and we were doing every week on a Thursday. We were doing car washing, and then I went from basically washing or selling cell phones for 7 days a week for less than $2,000 a month, taking a bus there and everything, to working at this one building in downtown 1 day a week, making about $2,000 to $3,000 a month. So I got all my time back, and then I was also, like working for myself. But I had to learn how to, do processing. I do customer service. I did have a lot of automotive experience, so that was the thing I didn't realize when I was starting a business. Like, what do you have experience in? I think that's a really, really important thing that people don't think about when they're starting something. Like, what is the time frame from you going from zero knowledge to all the knowledge you need to be successful, and then monetizing that and moving forward? And so that, for me, I didn't have the skill level for pools. I didn't know anything about a pool, so it was going to take way too long. But I had 10 years of being in the automotive industry and going to college for it and everything like that. So it really fit well for me to be in the automotive industry. And I love how that just kind of like worked out perfectly. And then we launched every 2 3 months. The property management would sell my service to another building. So we would launch another building in downtown. We ended up launching 15 buildings in downtown San Diego. I bought him out I have sweat equity, right? So he gave me like $7 a car. He didn't give me any equity, nothing like that. Typical, like you get nothing, work your way up to the top, like, so, he gave me nothing. And then I used another guy. He wanted to be out of the business. He had a couple other companies. He had to stay in Germany or wherever. So I reached out to another guy, while I was, had my firstborn son, and where I was going through crazy amount of chaos with that woman, some insane stuff. Very, very challenging. I would say the personal things were way more challenging than my business things, even though the business side was difficult, being homeless and not having a place to stay, and running everything from a laundry basket. I would literally drag this laundry basket to a trolley and then take the trolley. For 2 years I didn't have a car, so I would just drag this laundry basket from building to building in downtown, washing the cars in the garages. Sometimes I would get a little space for store my supplies, sometimes not. And then so during all that time, I eventually bought him out through another guy, and then used his money to buy the other guy out. But that guy ended up being a Ponzi scammer and stealing $12 million from the public. Ended up being going to federal indictment, and got booted out of San Diego. People wanted to kill him, uh, which is pretty insane because he had like Rolls Royces and like Lamborghinis. He lived in like Rancho Santa Fe, and next to like like Rocky Balboa, like was his neighbor, like. So it really showed me, what not to do. Um,
Yeah.
and so, I bought that guy out. Once everything was crumbling, he actually came and washed cars, which was a pretty low thing to do. He came in his Rolls Royce and washed cars all day. That was really crazy. But so then from there, he went ahead and lost everything. I then reached out to another guy to buy him out for pennies in the dollar. And then, and then at the very end, eventually he had a different idea. I wanted to go the franchise model. He wanted to go the employee model. We had a disagreement there. He had some other things happen. So we ended up separating, and then I ended up owning the entire company, in the end. So I kind of went from zero to owning 100% everything. And then right when I did that, interestingly enough, Ty Lopez had this story post where he was like looking for teachers for people that in the car wash industry that made over $100,000 a year, and teach how they made that much money in the industry. Well, I submitted an application for it. It turns out that they really liked me. I met Ty previously, and so their team kind of knew me a little bit. And So they're like, hey, let's, we'll fly you up to Beverly Hills, and you can, you can teach inside of at the mansion. So they flew me up right after I became 100% owner of the company. It was crazy how this all worked out. And then I flew up, and then I taught at his mansion, and I was one of the best. I never knew this, but I was one of the best people that were speaking. All of the I was right next to Lewis Howes, Dan Fleshman,
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of other really phenomenal entrepreneurs, and I was just like this small kid from a small town talking about car washing, and I kind of talked about this concept and a couple other things I want to get into, but so essentially, they thought that they were I was the best out of everyone. So then they called me back again, and they did they spent a couple $100,000 in advertising, and we created a whole series. So before it was just one 45-minute video, and then when they called me back again, we did a whole course on basically how to create a car wash business in a box. I converted an entire mobile car wash. Usually you have the truck and you have all these different things. I converted that into a 2 foot by 2 foot box that you can just fit in your car, in the trunk of your car, and you go wash cars, make $100 an hour. So I was doing about $200,000-300,000 a year just out of the trunk of my car. So it's like, and working, that was working 4 days a week.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus? What I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
So I made a lot of money doing it. I taught that concept, and then we sold it across the nation. And so we're still doing that to this day. Now we're nationally, and we're in many cities across the country. And so I was doing that, and as that was happening, that was 2019, 2020 now. Well, COVID happened, and this is where Vetted kind of comes into this whole kind of deal, right? So, Vetted was honestly I wasn't intending on creating a Vetted. I was full into the car wash at the time, obviously. But when COVID happened, it shut down all my towers. All my high-rise buildings shut down because no one was going to work anymore. So I had to kind of pivot and change my business model and do mobile, and I ended up selling off all the locations. And then I met this guy, Josh Elledge. I don't know if you know Josh Elledge. He has a podcast
Yep.
called Thoughtful Entrepreneur. So he hit me up on LinkedIn. He's like, "Hey, let's do a podcast." I said, "Great, let's do it." I had nothing else to do, right? We're all stuck inside. So I'm like, "Great." So I do this podcast, and he says, "Hey, Tom, you'd be great at podcasting. I could help you do it, blah blah blah." And I said, "Sure." So he ended up selling this program to help me guide me to create a podcast to interview CEOs and founders and eventually sell them something. And I said, "Okay, great. That sounds like a really cool thing. Let's do it." And so I started podcasting. I started interviewing CEOs and founders of companies, and I was, trying to sell them the concept for the car wash. But a lot of them had their own companies. It didn't really seem like it fit right. And a lot of times I was just connecting them from one entrepreneur to another entrepreneur, and I was trying to figure out how to provide value to them. So, at the end of the day, I had this idea of just creating a social network. And that was mostly because, weirdly enough, Trump was launching a social network then. At the same time, there was a lot of fact checkers. Facebook and Instagram were restricting a lot of comments and shares. You didn't have a lot of free speech. And I felt like social media was really going south and there was too much restriction on it. And I didn't like the way that everything was kind of ran. So I was like, all right, well, I just want just an only entrepreneur social network. So I went and launched it, and we launched it within that year, and we started adding 50, 60, 100 entrepreneurs inside of it. They were engaging just a little bit, not enough. And then as I was going through that process, we were in the middle of COVID. I bought a yacht, and then we turned that into a yacht charter company that blew up. 20 million plus views in the first month that we had. Some videos went viral. Was on Rob's ridiculousness. So it just kind of blew up within the first year, 4 years. With the first year, we 4x the company just with that one boat. So it was just crushing it. And I wanted to move out of my high rise because I had a high rise in downtown because where I was restricted. All my theater was closed. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't do anything. So I am leaving that, and I wanted to live on a boat. So I was living on a boat while chartering the boat at the same time while growing it into a business. and interviewing CEOs and founders, and then launching the social app for entrepreneurs. Well, unfortunately, um, during that time, my CTO, one of my best friends and neighbors, she, she had an overdose, an alcohol overdose, oddly enough, and where she would just drink and drink and not eating any food or anything like that. It was very damaging. She was depleting with a lot of her body weight and having a lot of issues. And one weekend, unfortunately, it just kind of, it took her out, and that
Oh,
hit me
wow.
hard, and it really hurt me. And then the next day, one of my best friends and roommates um, died as well from an overdose of a different drug. Because I mean, during that time, people were just dying left and right because of COVID. We were locked away, and so people were just trying to escape. And so that 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 really hit me, and I didn't. And she was my CTO, so she had all the dev logins for the social app and everything they were building. She had all the logins and everything, and I couldn't even be in San Diego. I left to like Tulum, Mexico, for a month, and I couldn't handle those losses. They were two of my biggest losses I've ever had. And then when I came back, the social app was just kind of was it got kind of they ran out of payments and things started to get lost, and then people weren't engaging on it. So I stopped podcasting. I stopped the social network was gone. Even all the data was gone. All the profiles were gone. Everything was gone. And so I was like, you know what? Like, just screw this. I'm just going to focus. I'm going to go yachting for a year or two, and I'll just do my charter business and the car wash business, and be good to go. So that's what I did, and I took a break for about a couple of years on Vetted, and I still had the idea. I still love the concept, uh, but it was just like that kind of made me take a break and a step back. So then after that, there was the whole NFT thing with cryptocurrency, and that kind of made me have an idea, maybe integrating all these luxury assets into the network and creating a point system and all these other different ideas. And so I was like, okay, like maybe we should start doing this again. I decided to, pursue Vetted again, in a digital currency aspect. And so I spoke at the first San Diego NFT convention with Zion Clark. He's like a celebrity. Uh, he doesn't have any legs or anything for Zion Clark. He's on a Nike commercial just recently. But I spoke with him at the San Diego NFT convention about this idea of kind of having this thing called a Founders Collection, where you trade them within one another on the platform, and then you can get points and utilize those points for luxury experiences like yachts and jet skis and Lamborghinis and everything. And I spoke on stage, everyone was riled up and everything, but it didn't really go anywhere. And so, I mean, the whole NFT thing was fun, and I had a hype, but then it fell. So, but I made a really valuable connection during with our current CTO, which is Javier Calderon. He's a phenomenal engineer, software engineer, and so we started to build this whole concept around having a social network where you have points and you get rewarded for engaging it, like likes and comments and shares, and when you refer someone, you get 10,000 points, and let's say you go, you complete some kind of task and you get a point, or there's all these different ideas you can do. And so we needed an incentive for people to engage in the social platform outside of just getting likes and comments and and getting clout, and that's pretty much what the normal social platform does. And there is a few platforms out there that are point related, but not anything that is specifically for entrepreneurs. So we decided to kind of go that direction and build it out. And then, about a year later, we eventually launched the social platform. We found the pieces to integrate a wallet system, a point system, and a marketplace, so that way you can redeem the points. And this last year, we started the development of the application in March, and we just launched it in July. So you can find it on the app stores if you type in Vetted Club. And so it's the first ever social rewards network, exclusively for entrepreneurs, that's ever existed. So you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be inside the network. You could just be a perfect person of high value, or some creative, some kind of impact. So you could be a pro athlete, you could be a influencer, you could be someone that just says something positive for the world, and it could be at all different levels. A lot of times with entrepreneur organization, are you familiar with entrepreneur organization or like
Oh,
Genius Network, right?
yeah.
So these other networks are, they have a minimum, like level of how much revenue you're generating, and there's all these different like, kind of things. There's, there's a vetting process, right? And that's a good thing, right? But there's not really anything for just startup entrepreneurs. So we made it where anyone in any level could come into vetting, from like just the startup to like the seasoned guy who's like serial entrepreneurs doing like, a couple $100 million a year or $1 billion a year. And so the cool thing about that is we have tier levels, and you could come in and then you can get into that tier level. How it works is essentially you come in, you first vetted, and we verify through LinkedIn. We have FaceTimes, things like that. You submit some videos saying that why you want to be inside the network, what your business is, and then we look through everything and get you approved. Once you're inside the network, if you want to engage and you want to earn points and redeem points, then you create a wallet. You just use your email to create that wallet, and then after that, you can utilize the points for all these different experiences. So it's kind of it's a whole different unique way of of engaging inside the profile inside the platform, from going on vacations. We do a lot of luxury giveaways, so like yachts, jet skis. We're giving away trips to Cancun, to different founders to incentivize connection. So we're kind of focusing on people coming in and really engaging with one another, not just staring at a screen. We don't want people just to create posts and watch videos so we can run ads. You don't run ads on the profile on the platform. We don't run any ads, like zero ads. So the revenue generating model from this is primarily from the marketplace. So, if you use your points for a Lamborghini, there's a 10% like, profit margin that we up, the cost there, so that way we have some profit margin there. Um, so that but that depends on some of the things are not, there's no, real profit margin. We have a transaction fee of a few percent, but that's kind of where the profit will come from inside the platform, instead of having it where you're running ads and the company's paying for ad space to be able to sell the person and get them glued to the screen. We want people, we want entrepreneurs and people of impact to connect with one another. And how I realize that is that 90% of, I always said that 90% of my good ideas, or 90% of my great things that really made a huge impact in my company, came from other entrepreneurs. It came from having lunch with a marketer, or like going out, reaching out to another mentor, or whatever it is. That's where all of my growth came from. I was meeting up with Patrick David. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, like, how do you do this and that? He said, oh, systems. And I was like, what, systems? Like, I didn't even know. It's like, you got to focus on your systems. And I'm like, I never even thought about that. And it changed everything, right? So a lot of times people are lost in their businesses and they don't know where to go, and they're like, okay, I'm stuck, or whatever it is, and they're not reaching out to other entrepreneurs, trying to connect with them to be able to bounce their ideas off them, so that way they can continue to grow. So that's pretty much what we're doing now, is we're creating a profile. We're creating a platform where it incentivizes you, and it makes it easier for you to create that connection, to be able to go out and do real life things. And so that way you can, get these aha moments, those like golden nuggets, where you're going to be able to accelerate your business. And it's not, our goal isn't for you to, get glued onto a screen so we can run ads on it. The goal is to, you get enough points and to engage in the platform enough where you can rent a yacht, and then you can post it on the platform and say, hey, I'm in Chicago on Thursday. I got a yacht. Does anyone from the platform want to go ahead and come on board? And then boom, now you're out there on a yacht, you know, connecting with, 5 entrepreneurs or 10 entrepreneurs in Chicago that could create a whole new business endeavor for you, and really change the world, right? So that's kind of what we're focusing on, is kind of rechanging the game as far as social media goes, and focusing on what it originally should have been, which is get off your phone, get off the screen, and go connect with people and engage with people, and be a human.
That's fantastic. I'm not sure I have a whole lot more questions for you. That was so good. You said that if people want to join Vetted, they look up Vetted Club on the app stores. Is there a website they can go to directly?
Yeah, you can go directly to vetted community.vettedclub.io. So community.vettedclub.io, and then that will, you can register there. If you don't want to go in the application, you could do that. But then, obviously, one of our executive assistants would be able to reach out to you and work through the vetting process there. Really, what it comes down to is, we have the potential now. There's with social media. This is kind of like this will be my end. Um, so with social media, the problem is that 70% of your traffic online is bots. So really, your people are have a like addiction, have like validation. They're addicted to the platform. It's designed to keep you glued to it, so you make posts and you do comments, so you can get likes, so that you can get attraction from robots and bots, so that way the algorithm can sell you more things from other companies to keep you more addicted. This entire cycle is extremely unhealthy for humans in general and demotivating. And we have limited time on this planet. So the more time we're spending on a social platform, wasting away to give our energy to bots and then eventually our money to companies that don't even care about us is really not the direction that we want to go. I think that what we're trying to do is we're trying to uh, be the kind of antithesis or like the opposite, of that whole process, where we want to push people to go out and create real connections and make impactful things in the world and really make a difference, right? So that's kind of the direction that we want to go. And this is going to be a change, obviously, because you won't get a bunch of clout for having a lot of likes and a lot of followers per se for creating content. You're gonna get rewarded by engaging. And so your points are kind of like, hey, like how much have you engaged? How many people have you referred in? How many events have you gone to? These will kind of dictate, how you're leveled up and how you get validation inside the platform. It's not going to be, how much time have you spent on the platform? How many posts do you have per se? Those are things aren't as important as going out and creating real life connections. And I think that is going to one elevate, the entire society. It's going to elevate humanity, and it'll be really really good. So if we can achieve it, it'll change the entire world. We'll also have millions and millions of entrepreneurs or high valued individuals on this network. So you're not going to be commenting or posting or sending a message to a bot. It's going to be a real person. Um, and who wouldn't want to be able to refer some people and push your network inside of this and then get a free Lamborghini or a yacht, or a trip to, Tuscany, Italy, right?
Yeah, I love that model. I love that the way to game the system is by actually having real connections with people.
Yeah, 100%. And the reward is instantaneous. Like you can go anywhere in the country and you can reach out to a local company that is on vetted, reach out to the CEO, connect with them personally, and then go ahead and get that yacht or do that trip or whatever it is. So you're creating real connection, you're doing real experiences, and you have that. That's more of the goal, which I think is going to be phenomenal. We're going to be traveling the world wherever we are and connecting with the best of the best people. And that's how celebrities operate anyway. Celebrities and high level people, this is how they operate. They don't go there and act like everyone else and just go rent a car. Like they don't. They want to work on a different level, and we're going to be able to do that exclusively, making it more private and secure, and just doing it in a way that really matches the level of the people that are inside of it. So I'm super excited. Things are going very very well. We have a lot of work to do. Right now, we're actually anyone that registers can get points and can kind of uh, increase their value inside of the network for less before we have a launch inside for our next version of the app. We already have the first version out, and we'll have the second version in January 2025. So It's a huge build out. It's going to take about 3-4 months to get it done. Once that is done, then we will essentially go out and start to reach out to other networks, and all of these entrepreneur networks, we're going to be kind of uh, giving them the ability to utilize this network uh, and, and grow and give more value to their community through the application. And that's going to be really cool as well. But I would recommend, I think you already have a profile as well, right, inside of this, right, Chris?
We'll talk about that offline. I need to figure out how to get back in.
Okay.
Remember, I was the one who was de-vetted.
Oh yeah, de-vetted. Yeah, that's the problem. You can't get de-vetted. That's the issue too, which is kind of a good thing, right? Like, yeah, that was just a system error. But yeah, yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of great things. I appreciate your time, and everything. I think this is a really really great thing that we're working on, and I love that you're engaged inside of it, and we have a great future, in business and everything else.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Tom.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thanks for listening to Pivot Perspectives with your host, Chris O'Byrne. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advice on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear God. It's beautiful.